Thank you, and welcome for coming on board, Georgia and Celine. I'm really, really grateful that you've taken this time out from your busy schedule to come and talk to us. Welcome to the LCF and UAL events. And it's been really lovely that you've kept in touch and sharing your life after Fashion Contour. So just a really nice opportunity for us to have a little chat to talk about what you did learn while you were with us on Fashion Contour. So Celine, do you want to start as to what maybe you felt that you really learnt while you were with us on Contour?
So personally, I think the Contour course in general was just a really great foundation in all these different areas. So you don't only focus on the product itself, so creating a beautiful product with a purpose. So it's really nice to actually experience both sides and not only focus on, handcrafting something beautiful, but really doing it for a purpose. And I think having that kind of business aspect within the course really helped to kind of think on a bigger level, if that makes sense. So it's really nice to kind of take the next step and being able to think about all these processes and things that you might have to think about, of course, if you want to start your own brand. So I think in general, it was just a really nice mix of skills that you actually could learn and take into your future jobs as well.
Oh, that's great. And what about you, Georgie?
Well, it was amazing from start to finish because it's obviously really important to learn like design development, pattern cutting, and then learning how to make a final product. I think also the doing contour is really good even if you want to do something like women's wear, because it teaches you more the structure and like the harder bits to things, which then you can develop upon that. Which is what I've done.
Yeah, I mean, we always joke, don't we? We always say if you can make a bra, you can make anything. It is like we say, millimeters that matter, and really sort of intricate pattern cutting and really good knowledge of how your materials perform on the body and everything. So what did you really enjoy during your time at LCF then, Georgie?
I love the freedom, I think, to just do anything you want. Like, especially final year, you had the freedom to design and make anything. And also there were people who could help in each bit. So if you had this crazy idea in your head, there was someone who could help you work out how to actually make that realistic. I mean, some of it wasn't, and some of it couldn't be made realistic, but yeah, it was just having the specialized help from different departments that you could then move. You could basically design. You could do what you want. It's amazing.
I mean, I think that's one of the things that we really enjoy about seeing the students, especially in final year, like you say, all working on your own project and it being so unique to you. And yes, we are very challenged sometimes, but that's exactly what we love. Of course, we've come from like all being industry professional practitioners, but we actually love being challenged. The fact that there isn't that approach of thinking it can't be done, and finding those solutions and working with you guys to sort of kind of create what's in your heads is a beautiful part of like being on the course, seeing all that creativity and innovation. And what about you, Celine? What did you really enjoy at LCF?
I agree with Georgie. I think the best part was just that you could 100% focus on your creative side, on your kind of like the making side and design side of things, because you don't have to worry about, hey, where I'm gonna manufacture my clothing, how I'm gonna market it. It's all these things that come later. So it was really nice to just really purely have the focus on design. And as you say, you could absolutely do anything in your final year. So kind of having that freedom of really doing anything you want, going crazy, going commercial, having that freedom was definitely, just a beautiful experience.
Yeah, we always say to them, really enjoy it, because like you say, as you go into the real world, you have maybe price points to meet, or sort of different people, and you come across different restrictions or different things that you have to work around, and that's part of being a creative person, often working within teams and things. But yes, it's a real opportunity in your final year to do what you personally want to do and that individual project. So what advice, now that you've graduated and you've been busy in the last couple of years, what advice would you give, Celine, to current students and the graduates today?
I just think for students, definitely make the most of your time at LCF, because especially now realizing after leaving university, you don't have all these amazing opportunities and facilities available to you, just on short notice. So I think it's really important to, see what can LCF offer you, even across whole UAL, kind of make the most of your support from your, fellow students and also the teachers, and really just go in as much as you can. And there's so much more to discover. Like, I remember when I wanted to do 3D print of course, I was super scared to get started, but actually once you start looking into it, there's always somebody who could help you with, the most difficult development. So I think it's really just research as much as you can, and really don't be scared to push the boundaries and just do whatever comes to your mind, because there's always going to be someone to help you on your ideas.
Yeah, I think that's the lovely thing. It's such a creative community, across the board, with so many different disciplines and opportunities. So, I think both of you really grasped those opportunities, like you say, with the laser cutting, the different techniques, the different things. Both of you, it was wonderful watching you explore and experiment with all those different things around you to see how that could sort of really influence you. And what about you, Georgie? What advice would you give to current students and the recently graduated students?
I think definitely challenge yourself and push yourself beyond what you think you can do, because it gives you confidence when you leave, when you've actually had people help you at that time. So when you leave, you're kind of on your own. So it's just nice to have the confidence of the help. And doing something hard, like don't just choose the easy option, but also just put the time and effort in whilst you're still studying. It's definitely worth it.
Oh, that's brilliant. It's really nice that you're sharing today. And I wonder if it's sort of kind of like really quite strange for you to almost go back and look at those collections that you did with us. So thank you for sharing the images and the collections that you did. So Georgie, how did your creating your collection? I remember it being very intricate. You were working with really beautiful fabrics. How did that lead you into thinking about starting your own brand?
I think I've always been quite fussy with everything. So even in my final collection, to the point where everything had to be perfect. So if the sewing wasn't quite right, I just wasn't happy with it. But same with clothing or anything. There's not much I like. So I think it was being able to create something that is different, that isn't already out there, and you can kind of. I also, the fact that you can learn about everything. You don't just do one thing, and that's what I really like doing. I like to do a bit of everything. So I don't think I would find it difficult to have a job with just specialised in something, because it's nice to learn. I think it's important to learn about everything as well. Obviously, you do have to give bits for other people to do eventually, so it gets a bit overwhelming. But I think it's a great base to learn a bit of everything. Yeah.
I always remember your amazing flowers as well, that you put into your lovely beautiful puff shoulder sleeve and everything, and sort of all those little details, like you said, that you were really sort of focusing on the little pleating details, every little thing. I can remember when we were looking at it all, we were really sort of impressed with all the different details, and the execution was absolutely immaculate. And Celine, I remember your final collection as well. So, thanks again for sharing this. But I remember, all your experimentations with laser cutting and lacing up and everything. So, what from your final collection, what led you into thinking you were going to start your own brand?
I think it's similar to what Georgie said. Like, I really enjoy the whole process, like being part of every single step of your brand. I think it's so beautiful because you have so much power of, you want everything to be perfect, of course. So at some point, you'll get a bit overwhelmed, and I find it really hard to kind of let go of certain areas. And at some point you obviously have to get other people involved and help you on growing your brand. But having like the power of really creating a beautiful brand from start to finish, I think it's just so amazing. And I think what I learned from my final year collection is definitely kind of on a more commercial side. You obviously have to have some beautiful showpieces, but kind of to scale it down and create pieces that are really valuable to a wider kind of target audience, and kind of create pieces that will cater to a wider audience is also important. So it's kind of finding the balance of not letting go of your aesthetic. As you mentioned, my aesthetic is always quite intricate, and I like to create my own textiles, but it's kind of hard to bring that to the next level and kind of bring it on a more commercial side within losing kind of the DNA of your brand. So it really got me to think about how to kind of do the next step. And
That's great. I mean, it was really lovely watching it all happen. And then obviously you flee the nest, and we sadly say goodbye to the students, which we're obviously going to do still once we get out of this situation. We will be having our graduation events where we get to say a fond farewell to our current graduates who did an amazing job this year, considering the situation, like being told to leave the studio while the lockdown happened, but they did some fantastic digital work and worked really hard still, and we hope to see them finish their collections eventually with us and everything. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your brand now that you've both got your brands going? So do you want to talk us about your brand and what you're doing with your brands? Celine, do you want to say, because you've just started with your studio in Amsterdam, so
yeah, so it's actually been really exciting for the past year. So about a year ago, I actually moved to Amsterdam, and that was the first time that I actually had like a beautiful space to actually open a little studio. So I really have my dedicated space to create all my pieces, and yeah, it's just such a relief to have like your own little escape room. So I really, really love to have my own little place in Amsterdam, and I've actually just launched my online store. So before I only did bespoke orders, so really made to measure pieces. And my next kind of big step was to really launch my online store to have a variety of products available in like my core sizing. So the past 6 months were actually incredibly overwhelming, because I spent so much time just pattern cutting every day, every night, kind of getting my sizing right, doing grading, and it just gets you thinking about so much more, of course, and kind of what do you do with marketing? How do you market your pieces? There's so much more things to think about, but I really, really enjoyed the past 6 months, even though it was incredibly busy and nerve-wracking. It almost felt like I'm back in university. It just felt amazing because it's actually the real thing. So and the latest collection is also fully sustainable. So that was kind of my main goal, to kind of create a sustainable version of my final year collection. So my final year collection obviously was very intricate. I decided to create my own textiles, and I kind of translated that by using reclaimed French levis laces. So it's kind of creating new textures through reclaimed laces and reclaimed elastics that I get from other designers, and it's to really tie the whole concept back together in a more wearable collection.
Oh, that's great. I mean, thank you for sharing the images of your new collection. They're really lovely, really, really beautiful pieces. And I wish you, all the success with your own brand and everything. So, Georgie, obviously you've been putting Lily Rouse out there for a little while now, successfully selling on other retailers' websites as well as your own and everything. So do you want to talk us through a little bit about what you've been doing with your own brand since you left us?
Yeah, so it's quite a scary thing, suddenly setting up your own brand straight from uni. But I think if you want to do it, I think it's a good thing. I wouldn't regret anything about it. Obviously, I've had to have part-time jobs alongside and things to fund what I'm doing, so it's not easy. You end up working pretty much every weekend, either at a part-time job or on your own stuff, and just working late into the night. But I set up a brand that it's all 100% silk. It's all handmade. At the moment I have a signature collection that's just staple pieces. But everything, I have very neutral colours. So I've only got 5 colours, and I make everything as an order comes in. So if anyone wants anything bespoke, then I can do it. I try and make everything myself still, just because I find it so hard to find other people who will sew silk. And I don't really want to get it done overseas. I think it's nicer to get it done in the UK, and then you can have a better relationship with your customers. But I do actually, yeah, I've learned that over the last couple of years, I've definitely learned that you have to reach out and get help from people for the bits you're not very good at, because it will, yeah, you need to do it, which I've just started doing. But everyone who I do work with or collaborate with, everyone I've met locally. Everyone's from the same kind of area in London, and there's a story behind the relationships between everyone I work with. So I'm also really particular about who is kind of in my team and who I work with. I just want to keep it really personal, and so people are really comfortable to come, and it's just more of like a bespoke service. It's not just a brand. You get to know behind the scenes. But at the moment I'm actually working on a rebrand. So my signature collection, I'm actually going to market in a different way, and I'm launching a new collection that's really wearable day pieces. So I'll kind of have a everyday edit, and then a more kind of wedding edit. So it's just learning where to market the particular collection, but it's just a massive learning curve.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is, sort of, that's the thing you're learning as you're going through and everything. But I think it's amazing that you've both, taken that skills and abilities that you learned, continue to progress them, continue to learn, and have put it into action. That's really impressive. And like you say, you're both working really hard to make that happen. And I mean, you talk about these silk pieces, but they are beautiful, and the colors are beautiful. And like you say, cutting silk on the bias and making silk, to do it properly, it's a real skill. So sort of like you say, making sure that you keep that kind of quality and that understanding of what they get with your brand. So I'm sure that the Lily Rouse and the Celine brands will both be really successful, because they've both got really strong DNA, but they've also got your heart and soul in them. So sort of, I really hope that they continue, and I'm sure they will be really successful. So I want to say a massive thank you to both of you for coming today and talking to me about your time on Fashion Contour. And you are both very valued alumni for the course, and fantastic role models for our students and everything. So thank you very much. So I'll say farewell. So if you both want to say goodbye, but thank you, really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for your time as well, and it was lovely to talk to both of you again. It was lovely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for the chat. It's actually been really nice that you almost feel like you're back at uni again. It's really nice.
No, thank you both. I really do appreciate it. It's been really nice, and thank you both for sharing and sending us these lovely visuals of your final collection and your brand as well. It's really nice to share those as well, to see what you're doing and what you did and how you've moved on. And yeah, so thank you, really appreciate it. Well, it's really lovely that Albana has joined us, one of the alumni, and also one of the team here at LCF. So it's really nice that Albana still works with the Fashion Contour course with us on a part-time basis, still connecting up with us, but has been very busy launching her own band. So thank you for coming to today, Albana, to share life after graduation and everything. So my first question really is, what did you feel you learnt while you studied Fashion Contour at LCF?
I used it as a chance for me to start creating the basic part of my brand. So I obviously realised, at the beginning what exactly I wanted to do, which was to create like a luxury swimwear brand for some of my styling clients. And I really wanted to use everything that I had at university, you know, the tutors who would support you and do the design crits with you. So I wanted to just, you know, use that time to create a brand. And I think the final year really pushed me to create it.
Okay, so what did you enjoy while you were studying at LCF? What did you really enjoy doing?
So for me, I think I really enjoyed actually sewing the pieces. I'm a bit of a problem solver, so it took me a really long time to get them perfect, and my pieces were all seamless, so everything was bagged out. And it took me a really long time to finally realize how I would be bagging the items out, you know, figuring out which hole I'd be pulling everything out from. So for me, definitely the problem solving. I spent a lot of time like stressing over it and wondering how I would, you know, create these garments completely seamless, but with trial and error. And when I finally got around to doing it, it was like such a relief that I had obviously conquered it.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember laughing when you were saying you wanted to have everything bagged out and clean. And I remember saying to you, but you have to have somewhere where you're turning it through. You have to bag out through something. And yeah, there was a times when I think you were leaving yourself like 2 millimeters to try and get it bagged out and through. So yeah, it was quite fun. So what advice would you give to the current students that are still studying on the course, and to the graduates that are just literally today getting their results and about to go into the world of fashion?
So to the current students, I would say really make the most of it. I remember like when I was at university, like sometimes, you know, when you're with your friends, you might get a bit worried that, you know, you're falling behind because you're constantly comparing yourself to people around you and how far along they've got. And sometimes I'd feel quite nervous even to like go into university because I maybe wouldn't have enough to show. But that's like the worst thing you can do. Like, as long as you show up, like there's so many teachers who you can speak to, who can offer you support and advice. So for me, like, it was really important to just physically be at university, like at least, you know, trying to be a bit productive rather than, you know, staying at home and maybe, you know, stressing out over the smaller things and it potentially having like a worse impact on you. So definitely, you know, take it as it comes, try to enjoy it, and, you know, try out anything. Like if you're really interested in trying out a type of technique or even like a different course, if you're maybe more interested in sportswear, definitely feel free to like use different machinery from different buildings, because, you know, you've got like the university offers you so much and it's all there available for you to use, so you just have to make the most of it. And then for the students who have graduated, well, are graduating, what I would say first of all is to have fun and maybe take like a few weeks or a few months, like going on a holiday if you can, relaxing, just to celebrate. Because I think when you go from graduating university to getting a real job, you're never really going to have that kind of gap ever again in your life. This is really when like the real like adult life kind of kicks in. So I would definitely recommend, you know, just having some fun and just enjoying yourself, obviously celebrating the 4 or 5 years of university that you've just gone through. And then, you know, take some time out to then realize exactly what it is you want to do. If you still don't know, that's totally fine. There's so many opportunities. Like, you could honestly just try anything in the world. So maybe just don't be so hard on yourself and give yourself like impossible tasks. Like, everything is at reach, everything's possible. Don't like worry too much.
That's good advice. I mean, we always say, like, to people and to students to remember, you know, like, your first step on the ladder might not be necessarily what you think, you go somewhere else, but, you know, sort of like just embrace that learning experience like you did while you were at university, because you never stop learning, and you should never stop enjoying that, and whatever you learn will stay with you. So yeah, good advice. So when we were doing the final year and you were working on your concept proposal, obviously you sort of said about your final year leading to your brand, but did it help you that not just thinking about the collection, but also looking at the rationale and the report behind it? So looking at your consumer and looking at the market levels and things like that. How did that help you?
So even to this day now, I launched my brand in 2018. Well, I kind of launched the brand as a whole, but I launched the actual first collection last year, so in 2019. And still to this day, the one file that I always go back on is my concept development report. So it was the proposal that we all made look really pretty, and it had literally like your brand DNA, like it was like my brand Bible, and I still go back to that today. And I remember for me, I spent a long time on trying to make it perfect and getting down as much detail and information as possible, to the point where I still use it now because it's still so relevant. I think when you're starting a brand, everything that we went through in the concept development is so necessary for starting a brand, for like, or, you know, creating a product. It could be anything at all, but, you know, getting down your consumer information. So, you know, your target market, the exact type of customer you would have, whether it's her shopping habit, her age, her style, the competitor analysis as well. You know, all of those things really helped me with coming up with my brand as a whole and really deciding on who I would market, what kind of price point I would market as, and so on. Because, you know, if you don't have that information down, you could have the most amazing product in the whole wide world, but if you haven't, you know, made it for a certain person with a certain budget, with a certain price, with, you know, the correct materials, as successful as the product itself could be, you'd have no one to sell it to without having all of that information down. So I think for me, that of everything that we did in final year was like the most important thing. Like, you know, for me still now, I'm looking at it and I'm like, yeah, this is good. And I'm editing it because, you know, a year later, 2 years later, your competitors might change, your price points might change. But that to me is something that like I literally swear by. It was like a big blessing for me getting that done.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is really good. And obviously we're part of the product cluster. So the idea is that we are designed for purpose. But I think, you know, like you say, like understanding all those other elements around it, that to be successful, you do need to know your consumer and you do need to know how much they're prepared to pay for these amazing garments and things. So what did you learn while you were making your final collection in terms of sort of kind of, because obviously you were working with stretch materials and things. So what did you learn sort of like in terms of sort of like, from an LCF point of view, what did we help to make you learn while you were doing your final collection?
So off the top of my head, one of the main things that I learned was that when you begin developing your designs, your design that you've drawn, there's a possibility that it's not going to look like the real thing because of fabric, because of material. So I remember for me, like, I felt to begin with like I was very stuck in my ways of this is how I designed it, this is how it should look, you know, I thought this is exactly how it should be. But when it comes to making it, you might realize that, especially with Lycra, I remember I was doing straps and the strapping was completely pulling on the fabric of the main bandeau top. And I remember thinking, you know, like, why is this not working? I was trying out different ways, but to me, it was just one of those things where actually, you know, it was pretty much impossible for me to add the straps how I wanted to without it pulling. So the other way around, it could have been by adding, you know, like a hook insert instead, which is something that I didn't want to do. But you have to compromise. So, you know, I tried it a few times, but there's a point where you have to tell yourself like, okay, no, this isn't going to work. Let's move on. Like, let's try something else out instead. And I think for me to begin with, you know, even like with the tutors with you guys, when I was trying to do bagging out, and I had like some of them like, no, like it's not going to work. And I was just like, you know what, it is. But I think definitely to know, to not always be stuck with a certain idea in mind of how it should look, because with development, you know, trying out different machines and different fabrics, like, you know, your designs are going to develop, but it's never going to be like, don't compare your design, you know, like as if, oh, it doesn't look like that. It's in a good way, like, you know, you've problem solved, this is how it looks because this is real life. You know, sometimes the sketches are very like creative and imaginative, but when you put it into the concept of like the real life garment, there's always going to be changes.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that we often try and say to students is don't focus on the outcome, don't focus on that final thing, enjoy the process. of getting there, because actually within that process, within maybe exploring things, experimenting with things, you actually might find some things that are that you prefer, or things that you like. And like you say, as a designer, you're making those creative judgments all the way along, and also sort of challenging us to see as to how maybe you can get some of these amazing ideas, and how you can actually find a solution to them. But I think, you know, that process, so often, you know, sort of going through that process is actually really, really rewarding, and it's, you know, not all about getting straight to that finish line, you know, so I think that's really important. So what are you doing right now currently with your brand then? So obviously you launched and everything, but right now, how's it going with COVID and everything?
So when COVID first happened, I had just launched my second drop. So I did it, you know, last year during June, and then this year I launched it in May. And I was really, really worried to begin with. Obviously, I had some of my drop 1 pieces in the sale, so I was pushing the sale before I launched drop 2. But for me, I was completely freaking out. I'm not going to lie. I was, you know, kind of annoyed at myself. Like, why would you have a swimwear brand when no one can go on holiday? But these are things that no one like can control. You know, it's not like it's personal attack on me. It's going on with everyone in the world. So I kind of just had to take a moment to breathe and to just tell myself, like, look, you're not the only person going through this. Like, there's a lot worse going on. You know, there's people, unfortunately, who are getting really unwell. There's people who have wedding plans, and like all of these things, like it's ruined everyone's plans. So I just had to, again, look at it as a problem and try to figure out how I can solve it. So for me, it was more, you know, obviously we can't shoot any content on holiday. So I had to make the most of gifting to micro influencers and, you know, like larger influencers, and, you know, shooting at home, getting friends, you know, getting the friends to borrow the samples and getting them to shoot, because I needed still the content. But obviously with no one going away, there was nothing I could like show the customers on Instagram. And I think social media is such a big thing, because people are on their phones every day, and if I don't have any photos to show anyone, people are going to forget about Swim by Alba, because it's not there right there and then. So for me, it was more, let's just figure out how I can push this. So I pushed obviously the content, and in these past 2 months, I've actually had like the most sales ever. Like, I'm so surprised. I've probably done like 2/3 of my entire sales for the whole time that I've launched the brand. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise. And I think now it's slowly going to start picking up even more, I hope. Obviously now people are going away. Obviously this was something that I never expected, but it just goes to show, like, you can plan. I had planned to do like a holiday with, you know, influencers. There's so many things that I had planned, which obviously like completely fell through. But it just goes to show that actually, although you can have like a set plan in place for how you want to do it, if it all fails, you know, what you then need to focus on is how you're going to change that, and what you're going to do instead. And that's when it's your moment to shine, because, you know, you could just get completely stressed out and just give up. But giving up is the easy part. You know, you've just got to keep going and think about how you can change it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing we're saying now is, you know, sort of kind of, you know, don't give up. Actually, creative people are really good at finding solutions to problems, and creative solutions to problems. And actually, that, you know, this coming along has proven that actually we need to be adaptable, and we need to be able to embrace changes and work through them, and come up with solutions, because the industry needed to change actually. So in some ways, maybe you know, the new fashion world and fashion industry after this will be all for the better. So thank you, Albana, for coming along, talking to us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.